Randy, and in the hole is the Cattlemen's Association.
Hello, my name is Brittany Ritchie, and I'm a resident of Birchwood, Wisconsin, which is about 2 hours north of here. And I'm also representing Friends of the Wisconsin Wolf, so thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I believe we should let the experts and scientists make decisions regarding Wisconsin's gray wolves. Over 70 renowned wildlife biologists, experts, and researchers from around the country released an urgent letter calling on Congress to consider the overwhelming science that gray wolf populations are nowhere near recovered in the United States. In fact, approximately 360,000 square miles, which is about 70% of identifiable suitable wildlife or wolf habitat, still remains completely unoccupied by wolves. Accordingly, the best available science indicates that the gray wolf population remains threatened throughout a significant portion of its range. Ultimately, if Wisconsin wolves lose Endangered Species Act protections, 2/3 of the population will die at the hands of trophy hunters. The last time federal protections were prematurely stripped from wolves in the Great Lakes region, state agencies opened up brutal hunting and trapping seasons, and more than 1,500 wolves were killed in just 3 years. As it stands now, returning wolf management to the state of Wisconsin would immediately mean aggressive hunting and trapping seasons, including the use of hounds to hunt wolves, aiming to kill over 600 wolves in efforts to reduce the population to an unsustainable level of 350 individuals, a figure that was determined in the 1990s. The duration of the wolf hunt is far too long, from October to February, and that allows it to extend into the wolf breeding season, making it difficult for packs to rear their pups and maintain stable numbers. This is hardly a wolf management plan integrating the best available science. It is torturous extermination of an apex, keystone, and essential predator in the system. This moral bankruptcy and ineptness is no way to treat a species recovering from an endangered status. It displays why states like Wisconsin have no place managing them yet. The entire wolf restoration program was guided by the directives contained in the Endangered Species Act, a law created to ground a cornerstone of science that says the healthiest, most stable natural systems tend to be those with high levels of biodiversity. It is time to revisit this very principle and make wolf management decisions based on hard science, not special interests or political agendas. My question to you is, was the intent to spend decades of money and resources to restore our endangered wolf population, only to allow a small percentage of hunters and hounders and trappers take them back to the brink of extinction? Thank you.
I'm actually also with Great Lakes Wildlife Alliance. First, I want to thank you, Senator Johnson, for giving us an opportunity to do this. It's often hard to try to get into the offices. I've certainly been in DC and here. All of you, actually, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here today. So I have, things prepared, but I just wanted to sort of address what I heard in your presentation. And then a few other comments here. You talk about the integrity of the Endangered Species Act. That if we don't remove animals, even though 2 courts, a federal appeals court with conservative judges upheld that rule, that you talk about keeping this integrity of the ESA, or you know what, there's no money left for other species. You absolutely have the power in Congress to allocate more money towards endangered wildlife. Also, to be fair, Senator Johnson, you've also voted for Bernhardt and for the oil and gas lobby. Endangered species regulations are about to drop, basically making the entire act very, very hard to ever relist another species, especially a wolf. So I think under those, I don't think it would be fair to say that your argument is, and your position is to maintain the integrity of the Endangered Species Act. Also wanted to address that people have said, we manage every other species. Yeah, Wisconsin manages. But what you really mean is lethal management. Because we have, I have sheep, I get it, I love them, some of them, well, I want to hate actually, but they're eagles and hawks. Look, I have bald eagles, they can take a lamb. I cannot use lethal control against a bald eagle. Why? Because it's an American icon. The wolf is an American icon to me. So if I can deal with a bald eagle or a hawk, there are 450 songbirds that we don't actively manage, right? And we manage them. I also just wanted to say, if a species is protected, it's not that the state isn't managing them. Trust me, I'm sure Scott can attest that he's pretty busy with wolf issues here. He's managing the wolf population, but we just don't have the hunts. We tried to compromise and say bring them down to threaten so that farmers could take lethal action in these events, like that poor gentleman was talking about. Like, you can't even shoot a wolf that's attacking your livestock. No, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the science shows that non-lethal mitigation for conflict is what really works. But for me, we could have lived with that, but that was denied. That was denied to us. We're here. Like, I care about farmers. I care about small family farmers. I care about wolves, and I think things like this are just making the divide bigger than we already have going. And then we've spent $36.8 million.
30 seconds.
Okay, fighting chronic wasting disease in Wisconsin. So we talk about these enormous costs that wolves are costing. Well, with wolves, they reduce CWD. $36.8 million on fighting CWD in Wisconsin alone, when you have a natural animal in the landscape that will do it for free. And I thank you for your time.
So let me put this, you actually asked the question, can you repeat the question and kind of like Charlie to respond?
Okay. My question at the end of my speech was the intention to spend decades of money and resources to restore an endangered wolf population, only to allow a small percentage of hunters and trappers and hounders take them back to the brink of extinction? And what I meant by that was that 350 population goal in Wisconsin, which was determined in the 1990s, and I don't know if there was even any science influencing that decision, and it hasn't been really revisited or revised since. And the wolf population is naturally stabilizing right now. Despite claims that the population is out of control, recent reports from the DNR find the numbers of wolves are actually leveling off naturally, just as wildlife biologists said we would all along. And this year's wolf count actually shows that there's about, like you said, 925 approximately wolves in the state, and that's about a 2% drop from last year. So it seems to be naturally managing itself, and that's just where I wonder where that number 350 even came from.
And so again, appreciate that, your comments and the question. I just want to quick throw it over to Charlie because I had written down a very similar question. Who set that recovery number 350 and how was that set? But also kind of respond to
the recovery number for the 3 states, Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin, was set by the Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota DNRs. We had input into that process, the federal government, other experts had input into that process, but it was the state's responsibility to set that number, and we agree with those numbers based on good science. Now, the aspect of, are we going to sit back in the Fish and Wildlife Service and watch all this hard work that we in the states and everybody in the state has done to recover wolves only to see them slide back to being threatened or endangered again? No. We have a monitoring program in place. We have a statutory responsibility to monitor the population and make sure it does not get back into harm's way, and we intend to do that.
So let me ask a little bit further. So do you think that the 350 is still the kind of sweet spot here, or do you think it is, do you have an idea in terms of what the right population would be in terms of management?
Correct. We would look at the 350 figure right now and agree with that. There's always fine tuning that can occur. Wisconsin DNR has excellent biologists that work on these issues, excellent folks that are experts in population dynamics. We would ask them to maybe go back in and look at that, but we have full faith and trust in the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources to manage this species when they're, and if they're delisted.
Again, thank you. Next.
Okay. Got Randy Jurwitz. Do I have that right, Randy?
Yes, you do.
He is with Wisconsin Green Fire. And then on deck is the cattleman's Don Smith. Where are you at? Is he here? Not here. Okay. And then after the cattleman's, that'll wrap it up.